Call the meeting to order.
Gentlemen, could you turn on your mics, please?
We will. Okay, it's 1:02 at this point, and we'll call the meeting to order. I'm temporary chair, the vice president of the committee, and Bill Shute, our chair, is on traveling this week, and so we'll miss him. We want to first pledge allegiance. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Shall we call the roll, please?
Okay, Member Stewart
Here.
and Member Hamilton.
Here.
And that's it. Are we doing the alternates for Carlene?
I don't believe we have to seat an alternate. We're down to currently 3 members and you have 2 of the 3.
So we're good.
So you have a
We
quorum.
have quorum. Okay, that's terrific. Thank you. Do we have any additions, deletions, or amendments to the agenda?
None by staff.
None from me.
And nor I. So we'll go to item 6, which is approval of the agenda. Or shall we? Okay, approval of the agenda. Is there any?
I move that we approve the agenda as published.
I will second that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Thank you. The agenda is then approved. Public comment. How do we look on those from outside?
We do not have many members of the public, sir.
Okay. Do we have any staff or members of the board?
We do have members of staff online.
Okay. And who are online?
We have Chad and Carlene,
Okay.
and we have Isa and Therese.
Okay.
Carlene and Therese are both ill today, so they're joining us remote. Quiet day here in the office.
Just as well.
Absolutely.
We need them. All right. Excellent. Great. Well, welcome to them as well as those attending. So we will dispense with all of the instructions regarding public comment at this point and go on ahead to approval of the minutes.
I
Item
move
8.
we approve the minutes as published.
The minutes of April 16th. The motion is to approve. Is there a second? I second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? We have approved the minutes of April 16th. Appointment of chairperson. I think we discussed that at a prior meeting that we were going to wait till Bill returned. Or was that going to happen at this meeting?
Last meeting, we appointed the vice chairperson,
Okay, that was me.
and I think this was supposed to be on the agenda.
Okay.
But if you'd like to postpone it,
Well, I think we could-
chairperson serves until you
Oh,
replace
no,
them.
no.
Or you can assign work
That's
when people
right.
are gone.
This
That's
is another
another.
perfect opportunity, isn't it?
It is.
To appoint
This
poor
is how
Bill.
I ended up where I am on the board.
Just missed one meeting. Okay, well, then
You have a
I
quorum.
I think the chair can make motions in this particular.
Well, I have no qualms about making a motion to appoint Bill Shute as chairperson.
I will second that motion. Very good. If there's, is there any discussion? Do we need to roll call?
No, I think
No?
the voice vote.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Okay. Okay. More. All right, great. Comments and requests, and we have general manager up first.
Yeah, I'll be pretty brief today because I'm going to comment on a couple items that are agendized, but just wanted to update you. I actually went out to the pump station construction yesterday, kind of toured the 3 sites, and there is action happening at all 3 sites. which is really good. Pretty good progress there. The Rancho Migos pump station site, they have that's probably the most or furthest along. They've got both foundations for the building and the generator set, which means the pump cans are in and the electrical conduit and everything's stubbed up inside. So yeah, pretty good progress at that site. That site didn't need a lot of site work. The other two have retaining walls and grading work and things like that. So that's what's happening right now at the other two sites, both at West Lilac, which is next to the high school, Bonsall High School, and Sullivan Middle School. They're building some retaining walls there. If you drive by, if you're headed down Lilac, you can't miss it. And there's a bunch of equipment stored there too. The buildings and roofs and things have already arrived and that. So the shipments continue to arrive as well. I believe all the roofs are now here, which those are kind of the big things. Most of the buildings are here. A lot of the pumps are here, but I think there's one or two more shipments still on the way. But I heard this morning that tentatively early June, they're planning to set the Rancho Amigos building, and then obviously, drop the pumps in from the top and all that. So anyways, things are moving along really good. Schedule, they're on schedule right now, which takes them to about mid-October, would be the end of the contract schedule. So that's kind of what it's looking like right now. Obviously beyond that October date, we'd need to do some startup and commissioning and make sure everything's running well before we take any additional actions, cutting off turnouts and things. But that's the current progress on those buildings, or on those sites. As far as the rest of the actions required, operations plans and such, we had another call last week. First one we've had in a little bit. I think there was kind of a lot of work that was being done by Metropolitan to try to get some of these water service agreements and things in place, revisions that had to be made. That part is still in progress. It sounds like all the operations plan with the County Water Authority, those are all pretty well done. They indicated that they didn't have any substantial comments to the comments that we provided to both the operations plan for the second aqueduct and the first aqueduct, and they intended to basically accept the changes that we made and send those back to finalize. So we probably should see those in the next few weeks. Couple things we're still waiting on. We haven't got there was some appraisals that were being done for the facilities that we were going to acquire. We haven't seen those yet. And so we're still waiting on a few things, but well in advance of when we need them. I think Fallbrook is probably they're on a little tighter timeline than us because they've got one turnout that's still or one connection that's still locked out, basically Fallbrook 3, which is off the first aqueduct, that I think they're looking to at least have available to them come summertime. It's really kind of a backup connection for them, but if something goes wrong on the other side, then they have that available to them. So that was a lot of the conversation at the last phone call with Met, was kind of getting a kind of an interim agreement in place to allow that to happen. But as far as the stuff on the other side, that's already completed, Met, Fallbrook, and that. So there's already kind of some, I guess, some templates in place of how those agreements kind of get shaped. But a little bit of work to do to get everything kind of finalized on the other side. And it has to do with, where the Met meters are located versus where, our metered locations are, which is downstream of the County Water Authority, kind of the main County Water Authority meter. So there's just some logistics to work out there. It's not difficult math, but it's just getting it on paper and everybody's legal being happy with the way it looks on paper is basically it. So again, I don't see there's not really any big hurdles for us, but just things we're still working through.
Great.
Yeah. And I'll just leave it there. Like again, we're going to talk a little bit about budget and crop swap in a minute, and those are kind of the two other big items.
All right. So thank you.
Welcome.
That's good news, actually.
Yeah, things are going kind of per plan, so
Things-
can't complain about that.
I've, my observation about the new pump stations, these package plants that we've been purchasing is that just makes it incredibly more simple to do them. You've got a spec, you can do a foundation, do your ground plumbing and then and get a site ready, and then here it comes.
Yeah.
And there's a lot to it, but it is certainly a lot better than experiences I've had in the past when you are building it from the ground up.
Yeah.
Mhm.
From the looks of it so far too, especially because we've, watching that Rancho Amigos kind of go, at least the foundation items get set. Looks like we've got a pretty decent contractor out there.
Good.
You know,
Well, that's great.
That's putting it, to get those pump cans in that quick, and that
Mhm.
I've seen people struggle with that, and they didn't seem to struggle with it at all. It was just kind of second nature, it looks like. So it's good news too.
Are they a first-time contractor with us?
I don't,
God.
yeah.
Jake, I can speak to that.
Okay.
They are not a first-time contractor. However, it has been more than 20 years since they last worked with us.
Oh,
Wow.
wow. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, but great reputation in the industry, Pacific Hydrotech, especially this size,
Hmm.
this kind of size work, this kind of the 5 to 15 million, 5 to 20 million kind of project. That seems to be their sweet spot. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, thank you. Let's move on then to the committee members' comments, if we have any.
I have none.
That's unusual. Well, no comments at all.
No.
I don't either, other than to the business that we're going to take move into soon.
Okay.
We have something called a fiscal 225 budget planning process update and outreach.
Yeah, and that's really just item I wanted to put on here. We've been working a lot with the board and the Budget and Finance Committee over the last couple of months to really take a deep dive into
And
engineering
too.
Yeah, in engineering as well. That started with the engineering and the CIP back in March. But last couple months really focused in on budgets and really this last meeting talking a lot about rates and kind of the plan forward. And it's been a really good process. I think, ton of great feedback, and really where I, wanted to make sure the committee was aware of kind of where we're at and where we're headed. But kind of laid it out at the last workshop just a week or so ago.
Last week.
Yeah. and brought together a few options. And so, the budget assumes that we're going to complete detachment January 1, 2025, which allows for kind of partial year savings, right? Assuming that, we start to save on wholesale water purchases in January through so half a year basically.
Yeah.
On the flip side of that,
On the wet side.
yeah, that's on that's the good news story. The other side of that, we still during that same fiscal year we've got to make the exit fee payment, and so that's all going to kind of occur during that same fiscal year period, and so kind of delays, I guess, the realization of those savings. Obviously, as we move forward, those wholesale water savings continue, but we've got some costs up front that are going to, when you're just looking at balancing the budget, that weigh against that. The other thing that, as we've been going through this budget process, is a lot of pressures from, kind of out of our control. One being our power costs. Our energy cost. SDG&E has put through some significant rate increases that, yeah, we have very little control over other than trying to stay off peak, right? To do things off peak, which our operations group does a great job of as far as controlling when we pump and how we pump and all those different things. But limited control there. Obviously, we've had some inflationary pressures to chemicals and things like that. All that being said, what you're seeing throughout the industry is kind of a roller coaster or not a roller coaster, but a snowball of double-digit increases pretty much across the board. And I think I've talked here about kind of Metropolitan being the first one that took some pretty drastic actions both on the tax roll and on the rates. And now the County Water Authority that's obviously reacting to what Met did, and then they've got significant financial pressures of their own where they're looking at. It looks like there's a board meeting on Thursday, and it looks like they're kind of the final two alternatives that they're looking at include an 18% or a 19% rate increase. And of course, that's the effective rate increase. So it kind of varies across the board, where those things hit hard and where they maybe hit, a little less. Just cursory review, without any numbers to it, it looks like, the places where they're going to increase probably would have hurt us the worst. You're talking about like the treated water surcharge, increasing the fixed charge on the transportation rate, which would have negatively impacted us. So it would have been some pretty heavy impacts to us. Of course, those are also going to be effective January 1st, 2025. So those are, if as long as everything goes to plan, those are going to be avoided costs for us. But that's what you're kind of seeing. And so those, once the County Water Authority sets theirs, then that's going to set in motion, of course, all the retail agencies having to, take that into account on their own. So I think that's what you're going to see. You're going to hear a lot of is, these double-digit plus type increases happening around the industry. The good news for us is we're not there. We've done a couple of, or we're in the process of doing a couple of things. Number one being, hey, we're going to save some money on wholesale water, January 1 to July, just like I mentioned. And so we had brought the board a couple of options, the board and the committee, a couple of options as far as, how we can balance our budget. We started out where we were looking at about a 6.5% rate increase on July 1, just to balance. Board challenged us a bit to see if we can do a little better, see if we can, there was kind of dig into some of the discretionary, these were all, I would say everything that was in the budget was, there was purpose to it for sure. Yeah. There was purpose to it. But certainly some discretionary things that could be, okay, it's not, it might cost us a little bit, but we're going to push those down the road to help out with what we've got to do today. And so we're going to bring back some additional options that are quite a bit lower than that 6.5. I think we're going to be somewhere under 5% on July 1. And really the plan that was presented was, we need a very modest increase right now, which I think when you start to see what's happening around the industry, it's going to look very modest. Modest increase now. Met will adjust their rates on January 1. That's probably going to be about a 3.5% hit to us. But the idea for us is to do it now, to make these adjustments now. And our anticipation is we won't have to make another adjustment until 2026. So basically we would kind of hold the line until, if it's 18 months, basically an 18-month kind of plan.
It's an authorized increase of up to 9%.
9% each July. So we've cut it in half already. And it looks like we will probably be able to defer the July 1, the July 1, 2025, we would defer it into January. So some real, I think we got a couple adjustments we have to make right now, but again, that kind of that long-term story looks it actually looks pretty good. We're avoiding a lot of costs that I think we would have had to pass on. And so that's I guess the messaging part of it is, you know, obviously just telling the story to our customers. This is what's this is what we're up against. This is what we're faced with.
Yeah.
And so anyways, we've got we're kind of consolidating that into a nice concise message. And that's kind of made its way around management staff first, and then obviously we'll be bringing some of that to the board for input. But anyways, that is the story kind of in a nutshell. And I think it's a good story. You know, probably run into some expectations related feedback, you know, I would say. But I think all in all, you're talking about, you know, a rate increase that's, you know, pacing inflation almost or better, really. So that's what we were looking to do. And it really does accomplish a lot for us. I mean, even though we are going to make some cuts and some of the things we were, you know, looking to really push, okay, we'll pump the brakes on a couple of things, but I mean, we're talking about funding our CIP, you know, the things that we need to do, projects that we need to accomplish. And yeah, so, you know, still pushing things forward in a really good direction at a pretty modest increase. And I think obviously a lot of it has to do with the actions that have been taken to avoid these kind of shock rate increases. And it looks to be, it's promising here in the near future.
That's fantastic. I was unfortunately unable to attend the final meeting between the committees and the board last week. And the previous meeting I attended, the news was a lot more dire. There was some magic that happened between that meeting and where you're reporting we are now. And that's great to hear, because, you know, we all spent an awful lot of time over a long period of time, you know, cautioning our community that if we did not take some steps to detach, that we were going to be subject to enormous rate increases, but they hadn't yet happened.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And now they're happening.
Yep.
And so as you report a very, very modest increase, now you can report that against some incredibly hefty increases, the biggest ever.
And
history.
the other thing that I think came out in that meeting is that now that we have the hard data from the other agencies, what Rick can do is basically generate a mirror bill that says, this is what you would have been paying had we not detached.
Yeah.
Yeah. Granted, you aren't seeing lower rates, you're seeing a rate increase.
Yeah.
But you're getting a benefit here that is directly applicable to your bill.
Yeah. And I think that we do. We've kind of got some general numbers already on just what the you know, the total, I guess, costs that we didn't have to pass on, right? Which, you know, if we were looking at 9%, now you're looking at 4.5%, that's a couple $1 million right there that you didn't have to ask your customers to fill in the holes for you. So that's good. Again, in this year one, it's muted a little bit because of the payments that are going out, because of the timing of it and those kind of things. So, but still, I think, again, looking forward, it's a much better story. It's a much better story.
As this is adopted, is there still a financing to be sought to look forward to trying to accomplish some of the CIP things that are getting so critical to do?
Yeah, and Rick can jump in on this. We already took action to take on a portion of debt that kind of gets us through. You know, this kind of we're doing some pretty good spending right now as for the pump stations, and
Finishing up the
right
big one.
So that action actually already occurred. May 1st, we We took out a 10-year note, $10 million on a 10-year note. In the long-term plan, it was year 4, we were planning potentially another debt issuance, and that would, but some of our debt falls off, and where you could actually now really kind of ramp up some projects that we've been waiting to do for a while.
Yeah.
So that are really needed. So yeah, that's in the plan.
It always was that, having a district that was not putting aside any significant amount of reserves and that was accumulating older and older and older infrastructure. And I know that 10 years ago, when I became involved, it was scary.
It still is a little bit, but we're
I mean,
climbing out of it.
It was like, we'll never climb out of this, because we can't borrow enough. And we couldn't afford, and we're going to send rates to the moon if we do. To take care of all these things that are starting to become more and more expensive to replace and repair. And Robert's done a great job out there in the field and reducing costs by using staff to do many things. And the contracting process became so much better with our engineering staff and all the work that the board did to begin to spend so carefully over the past 7 or 8 years. And so I think we're now at a point where you can see the end of the tunnel, and it's not a train.
Yeah.
It's feasible to get there, and particularly with the detachment and additional funding that's going to provide and savings. So,
Yep.
Well, thank you. That's a great report.
Okay, thanks.
I think it's a good story that we'll be able to pass on to the ratepayer too.
Yeah, I think, part of the message is, we understand reduced rate increase is still a rate increase. I think we
Yes.
will be sympathetic to that and
Minimize the pain.
yeah, but I think that's it. Obviously, that we're continuing. We don't just stop with detachment either. We're going to continue to look for every bit to, best service, lowest cost. That's the goal.
Absolutely. And to keep that.
By the way,
look out a bit.
just because you're sitting in an audience in the audience area, doesn't mean you can't contribute and jump in if you have questions. Okay.
Well, he's on the agenda, so
You are.
You bring up some very good points of how to communicate what has just happened. And I think it is important to go back to, 10, 15 years ago and what the status was then and how, it doesn't have to be long and drawn out, but just a paragraph or two of kind of where you were and how detachment became a great solution to kind of get back on track and start filling in some of the holes so people don't think that their water bill is going to get cut in half. But if we didn't do detachment, it'd be, 25, 50% more. And so not only are you building a stronger foundation with reserves and things, because, planning for long-term viability is critical. And I think it's important that ratepayers understand that. So especially since you have a great story to tell.
It is. It is. It's nice to have a great story. Not to have another cautionary tale. That's terrific. Well, let's go on through to number 13. If that's all your
12.
comments, or I'm sorry, 12. Did I miss one? Of course I did.
it's
Oh,
way at the
crop
bottom.
swap.
Way at the bottom.
Okay, crop swap update.
So far, this is another good story as well. We opened up the application window for the crop swap program and $5 million in grant funding to help our agricultural community with water efficiency upgrades. Can include things like swapping crops, hence the name. But you want to go avocados to wine grapes or even avocado to citrus or anything that produces water savings. All those things are covered under that, but also goes a lot deeper than that too. It covers root stock upgrades. So if they want to keep growing avocados, but their trees are old, you can actually, hey, rip out the old, take out the new, because there's a time of water savings in there, right? So still qualifies for the program, but really helps out.
Oh, neat.
So that's a nice addition to the program. And then a lot of just agriculture efficiencies too, BMPs, mulching, and water sensors, or soil moisture sensors, and a whole bunch of things that are
Use of water.
yeah, anything that encourages more efficient use of water. All those things are covered. Different levels of funding available for all the different types of activities. But so we open it up on the 29th. Everything's done mostly online, or at least it starts online. Somebody can go on the website, regionalcropswap.com, and you can start your application process right there. Again, I've talked about this before, but Rancho's actually got the administration, a staff member there that's actually administering the program. And so those things have started to happen from the 29th, and I think we got our update, like on the 15th or something like that. So it had been open about two weeks. Rainbow was in the lead dollars wise
In terms of application?
in terms of
And applications. I was thinking, there it is.
We were one-
I
we-
saw a bar chart someplace.
Oh,
we were one behind on the applications. Rancho's got nine in. We've got
And
8.
they've been in it longer than we
Yeah.
have.
And but dollars wise, we're top dog so far. So this is just after a couple of weeks. I think we had 200 and exceeded the $200,000. So the way we had started to, and this was to make sure everybody just kind of had an equitable chance to utilize the program.
Mhm.
So what we did to start was taking basically $1 million and divvying it up between the 5 regional agencies and saying, hey, you got 200,000 basically set aside to make sure, even if this program gets flooded with applicants, you could still have your chunk to make sure, you get some benefit out of the program. Good way to make sure everybody's included there, because you can see the City of Oceanside, they're lagging a little bit. So anyway, I teased Lindsay about it the other day, but anyway, so that 200,000 is kind of the base amount. But then beyond that, there's another million or so that's hey, it's first come first serve. So you see your 200,000. It's not put the brakes on. You can keep rolling through it. But then it's just first come first serve until the money's gone. And so we're at 235 in the first 2 weeks. So we're already into the first come first serve money, assuming all those applications get approved. There's some site inspections that have to take place and things like that. But anyways, really, really good start. We've, and I know this group in particular has worked really hard at getting the word out. Website, the last newsletter, I think was the second or third time we've kind of pushed it in the newsletter. We had a pretty good interest list, 50, 60 customers that had actually, I think it was about 60 customers that had put, name, email, send me the information as soon as it's available. So I'm guessing that's probably where those initial 8 probably come from.
yeah.
But we're not stopping there either. We actually just put out just a postcard.
Yeah, we did an oversized postcard to all of our ag customers over 1 acre.
So every eligible
Oh.
account got a note.
Fantastic.
And so, we're going to keep pushing it until the money's gone. And but so far so good. So that's
Oh,
there it
there
is.
it
So that's good. Yeah, we're but pretty exciting. You don't know how these things are gonna go, and so to be there in the first couple of weeks, pretty
I
That's
think it's
great.
interesting
Good start.
that 71%, 75. Can't see whether it's 21 or 25. 71% is basically sticking with existing crop.
And that's great.
Crop conversion is only 13.
Yeah.
We don't have to look at being flooded with wine.
And that's, I kind of figured around here, the avocado rootstock would probably be the one of the main one of the, the more popular programs as part of this. So
So
looking
older
like-
trees require a lot more than a new tree. So you replant and within a couple of years, you've got a producing plant that's going to use a lot less water.
I'm no expert, but that's what I'm told that, and especially as those trees get older, the production starts to lag. So it's maximum water use and lowering production. So, yeah.
The new rootstock is,
Mm.
at least this was when Rancho was developing the program, more salt tolerance. You didn't have to leach the field so much. So that was water savings as well, not just the replanting.
Interesting. Well, I don't think we have to worry about, being inundated with new vineyards. There's California's, there was a report in the Sunday paper. California industry produces something more than $50 billion in wine sales per year.
Hmm.
We're 1% of it. About 5 million.
But did I also see a report that industry had a 10% loss?
Yes.
That really,
Well, the old joke among people I knew who got into it is that I, took my large fortune and made a small fortune out of it. But I've had the joy of, making wine for the last 10 years. And that's not unusual up there in the wine.
horse racing story.
Is
How
that
do you
right?
win $1 million in horse racing? You start with 10.
Yeah, the only guy that makes out is the trainer. Well,
Barriers and bets.
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's
Right.
neat though. That is really a great program and that's wonderful
Yeah.
news.
Yeah, so I think we're going to start getting, I think they're monthly, we'll get kind of the monthly metrics that come through. This was kind of a first hit after a couple of weeks. But I think towards the end of the month, we'll get another update and then monthly after that. So we'll keep letting you know.
Fantastic.
I think it also speaks to effective communication to our ratepayers. So that we had that many people actually find out about the project and evaluate their needs and requirements, and roughly 10% of the 60 signed up.
That's great. Jumped in.
I think you're right. I had the same thought that I think actually the things that we're doing to communicate with our customers are actually pretty effective for our customers. The newsletter, it was front page Village News too. It got a run on the front page.
Yeah.
And I think that's
It was a
how,
great article.
Yeah,
I did
yeah.
see in the Village News. I think you have them attached here.
Yeah.
The FUD is, we see the crop swap thing is in here.
so. Anyway.
Sure.
Is this a one-time program or an opportunity that year or every 2 years?
I mean, I think there's opportunity.
They're working, if I recall right, they're working off a specific grant right
Yes.
now, but they're looking at follow-on grants to try to keep the program going.
Correct. It was a grant through DWR. This initial 5 million. And I think there's a couple of year window on it. So if the money lasts, it would last a couple of years. But I think that was the idea. If the program, basically, if you spend all that, we'd go looking for more.
And I think if you can show positive results in the program, you're going to be able to get somebody like DWR to go, yeah, this is a good program. Let's put some more in.
Ties into much,
Just keep it.
okay. Okay. It ties into a much larger story because we keep hearing about how much loss of acreage we have in agriculture. And a lot of water districts that I know, not this one, but others, are trying to minimize their, how much water capacity goes to agriculture. And I think in the Fallbrook area, this is a great opportunity for us to say we're incentivizing our growers to stay growing and to expand their acreage. And here's some tools on how to do that. So to me, it ties into a much bigger function and to have Rainbow leading the way, is showing here, is a great story. That maybe our committee could, have some follow-up with different news agencies to really promote how we're overcoming this trend of losing agricultural acreage.
There's actually two stories here. One of them is the one you just hit on. The secondary one is the cooperation between various agencies to promote and push this program. Here you have 5 groups, individual groups, all working together to accomplish the same goal.
It also speaks a little bit to the credibility that the district's been building with its customer over the past 5 or 6 years. As we have communicated at a higher and higher level, they're listening. And so when we send out a mailer like you just showed us, Jim, the people pick it up and they read it. And I don't think that was true 10 years ago.
Yeah.
We weren't putting out much to start with, and whatever we put out,
Went in the trash bin.
yeah, it did. And now they've seen us, our progress, constant work to make things work better for the ratepayer, work better for agriculture in the area. And as things happen, they're listening. I also think it's great, along these same lines of outside funding, and that we have a grants, person. We're working toward, obtaining other state, federal, and private grants as they become available to supplement what we're earning on sales and on tax share. But we it's a whole different ballgame when you send out that many and we have that big a response.
Yeah.
Something's changed.
Yeah. You actually reminded me too. And Amanda, part of the reason our game has been the bar has been raised on our printed content, and that it just does a great job with, in-house design. All that stuff is in-house design. And back to the budget too. That was the one thing I wanted to mention. I had it in my notes here and I skipped over it. Was, we were working on this strategic communications plan, and I think that, that's a nice tool to be able to keep pushing us forward. And with this year's budget, although we were modest with our, again, trying to, contain our costs, but there is some kind of incremental progress. And I thought that would be beneficial for this community or this committee. Incremental progress on funding some of those strategic communication strategies, and part of that is it's Amanda. Amanda just works a couple days a week. We're going to increase that just a little bit to try to get it, and so that's part of next year's budget. And then also, really, as we kind of get into, we've got the various events we do, but also social media, some of the social media things. We proposed an intern, which is, adding an intern part-time, very low cost, it's unbenefited position and those kind of things, but really have witnessed this add a lot of value to areas like that of a district where, regardless if it's a young person or not, but you do have a lot of young people out there, student types that very savvy with communication and these different social media channels and things like that. So I think we're going to be looking to leverage some of that to kind of keep the push forward. Again, not at a high cost. That's what we wanted to avoid, but kind of an incremental progress step for next year.
We now have schools that are, starting to offer credential programs that are bringing more people into the water industry and water and sewer industry, and those students are obviously going to take a great interest in serving as interns in this kind of situation. So that's helping as well.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. Let's move on then, if there's no further comment on that, to 13, which is quarterly customer service call metrics.
Yes. So Josh couldn't make it today, but I'll provide a few highlights, and mostly the story is continued good news. I think we've either held steady or continued to improve on call times, interactions with customers. So you'll see, and we can just skip to the one that compares last year to this year. There we go. So last year, average hold times were well over a minute. Josh really worked with the staff to look at a number of different strategies and motivations for getting that down. And so we're averaging about 30 seconds. I mean, that's been holding steady across the board. And that's not because call activity has dropped. That's either held steady or increased on a year-to-year basis. And if you can skip to the next one. Yeah, you'll see in the last earlier part of the year, January, February, we had more calls than we did last year. A little bit trending under in the last couple of months. The last one in the last slide that I wanted to highlight is actually a reversing trend. You would think less time on the phone is better as they're talking to customers. And I've actually appreciated this. Our customer service staff are taking a little more time to talk to customers. And that, I think, is our push to explain things. And so it's not just about getting them off the phone. There's questions that come up. They're very well informed, our customer service staff. They communicate with operations and other parts, engineering. And so I think they actually enjoy explaining our story when the questions come up. So a little bit trending up on that time, but the hold times are still down. So that's what we try and balance between the two.
That's an interesting stat, because it was so consistently around 3.5 minutes, then it went to 4.5 minutes, and it's got to be that very metric. It's also, we have better news. We really do. We're constantly improving what the district's doing. If you've got good things to say, to answer to questions, it makes it a heck of a lot better situation to have them explaining more detail about the questions they're getting asked. And so I think that part of that's good news, and part of that's just, feeling comfortable that they have a great message to deliver and happy to do it.
Not a fair question to ask you too, but if I recall right, if you go back to 2022, don't we have a more experienced staff now than we did in 2023 and 2022?
Oh, yeah.
Which means they're better able to address questions and things.
I don't know about more experience. All of our customer service staff are roughly about a year, all of them
Yeah,
now. We might have had
Okay.
more tenured, but I do
it's
think
also an area where you have a lot of turnover,
right. I just think honestly,
Right, like
that's
the-
pretty phenomenal staff. Oh,
Okay.
Carlene, go ahead.
So I was gonna say, if you go back to the slide with the total hold time, you could see, last year, part of January, February, March, and April was all with just 2 people.
Hmm.
Josh and one temporary CSR. We're holding down the fort with just 2 of them. So we're fully staffed now, but you can see even when they were fully staffed before, they were nowhere near where they are now with that, close to 30-second hold time. They'd hovered around 2 minutes to this, 1 minute was a drastic improvement from how they had been even when they had been fully staffed before. So I really think it's a testament to the dedication and fact that our current staff actually cares about helping the customer, answering their questions, spending the extra time if they need to, and that obviously hasn't even caused other customers to have to wait longer. They're just getting them taken care of.
Cool.
Yeah,
Good things regardless of.
Mhm.
Fine.
fantastic. Okay, anything else on customer service call metrics? That do it? Great news. Customer service survey is item 14.
Okay. We introduced a new survey at the Avocado Festival with questions that were centered around the water experience and customer service experience. Our goal was to identify preferences for communication so we can really narrow down which avenues are going to work the best for our customers, whether it's, direct mail, newsletters, newspaper, phone calls. And then our last goal was to establish a consistent metric on a scale from 1 to 5. And from the survey, we learned that our customers prefer to receive messages in their bill. So moving forward, we will continue with the newsletter or add another insert if needed. Text messaging was among the most wanted items there. So that could be something we address with maybe emergency texts, because when we often do have a outage or a break, we have a rotary system we dial out, but text message would definitely be a good addition. And then direct mail. Our residents really enjoy receiving our postcards and letters that we sent because it's something tangible they can hold on to, put on their fridge, or just bring in here when they have a question. We had excellent ratings across the board for our customer service, knowledge and response, and then solutions that our customer service team brings forward. 85% of respondents scored a 5 out of 5. Everyone rated us 5 out of 5 for caring about the concerns of our customers. And then speed of service was a 4.7 rating. That was just an average. We had a few, like maybe 1 or 2 that were, a 4, and the rest were 5s. 100% of our respondents completed the survey, and we only had a whopping 14 responses at the Avocado Festival. And that was due in large part to the large amount of people coming through our booth. It was just a constant flow from just before 9 a.m. when Carlene and I were setting up, all the way to the very end when Claudia and everyone wrapped up the event. It was a flurry of people coming, and a majority of them came from out of our service area. So we had people as far as Pasadena, down south San Diego, Orange County, Laguna area. The customers that we did speak with were very willing to engage with us and take the survey. And they were happy to tell us that they've had nothing but wonderful experience with our team members in the field and those on the phone. But we will continue to push out the newsletter. One question that we had that added, the customer service team researched a few other surveys from our surrounding agencies, and we had never addressed the general taste, the review of water. Most of our respondents were highly satisfied. A few were satisfied. Some had a middle ground there, but that was a nice addition to allow us to understand, what they really think about the water that's coming out of their tap.
Okay.
So we'll continue to push this forward in the newsletter, have in the lobby, and then add a link for our customer service team members so that after they complete a call and send an email, and that'll give our customers one more chance to let us know of their overall experience.
Fantastic. I have a survey response from yesterday when I stopped by the office, and there was the young man who was manning the front desk. He had a customer on the line. He had he has a headset, which every time I've called recently, I've noticed how clear the voice is on the other end of the line, which used to be not. We've had some bad phone systems here in the past. And he was busy. He was pulling up information and providing the information instantaneously to the customer. I just kind of stood there and watched, and it was really phenomenal. I know that the tech that we provide at that front desk now is so much superior to whatever it's ever been before. What a difference to have your fingers on that customer's account, on all of their history, on everything that they're talking about, being able to direct them to the right person on the staff if they can't answer their question. All of it is just seamless. He wound up the conversation in a minute, and then got to me, and I was really happy with everything I heard in his response on his side of the response. It just goes to prove that a well-trained staff with great technical
We used to have to hold that thing with our shoulder.
yeah, I know. Just a minute, Got to push the button to put. Yeah, it was great. Okay, let's go on to the next. Newsletter content is the next up.
And this issue will highlight the crop swap program. So we're really putting that additional push out. We have the QR code on the front. We list the requirements. A lot of our questions that we had coming into crop swap were, what are the requirements I need to meet? What if I've already started pulling out trees from my orchard? So this lays out a definitive requirements for the program, and then gives a little history there. We'll also have a feature on our Bonsall High School field trip, some photos, and then tips for watering your garden. It's a two-part series. This is the first just about creating and growing a sustainable garden, and then a link to the top 50 native plants. And we will also have brochures available in our lobby for customers to come and pick up. Then the survey, we will have a QR code link on there to encourage our customers to review us in the survey.
Fantastic.
Okay, and then moving forward for June. June, we will be working on our rates and detachment update. We'll also have information on our CCR report, which we have just completed, and we're finishing up our Spanish translation of that. So it'll be our first time we have an English and a Spanish digital version of the report. Part 2 of sustainable garden tips, rebates from Met, from trees, sprinklers, toilets. We'll have all of that information in there. We want to keep an equal balance of rate information and then also rebates and programs that we have in place. And then we'll give an update on our outreach. We have the Rainbow Run coming up. It's a fundraiser for Vallecito's Elementary that we will be sponsoring the water booth. That takes place on June 15th. We'll also announce the calendar contest winners for the North County Water Agencies contest. Then in July, we'll explore on the value of water, components of our infrastructure, maintenance, have a summer water guide planting schedule to adjust your irrigation systems for the heat. The survey will be in there, and then have a feature on your backflow device as well as Flume. They're going to have a new pricing schedule coming in July. There's going to be a small, tiny rebate for Prime Day. We want to make sure that we are allowing our customers to understand our fees are a little bit lower than the Prime special, but we will still have a link there for people to sign up.
I just read too that Metropolitan's going to, or maybe they already are providing rebates, not just on Flume, but there's now, there's 3 or 4, 3 or 4 devices. So maybe something to think about for our life after our first 1,000 flumes.
We're still under the threshold there, but Moen has a program, but it's nearly double the cost.
Yeah, it was more expensive still. It
And-
was still more expensive.
So it actually is an automatic shut off. I saw it on
Ooh.
an advertisement
Does.
for it. You have to have a plumber install it into your line. But
It'll close a valve, huh?
it has an app and you can actually close the valve to the house so that you're remote and it's reporting you've got a runaway leak in the house and you're on vacation. You shut the water off.
And that one's a learning program, so it will understand what times that you shower, your most frequent water usage, so that it will respond.
That wasn't covered in the ad.
The AI component.
Yeah, I think that was,
They mentioned an AI component. I just saw that last week. Some TV list.
and 80% of water agencies in Southern California use the Flume program. So roughly about just under 15 were using another type of program. And then the 5% were 2 other options, but Flume was the most enrolled program for all of our agencies in Southern California.
I think most of the other ones I've looked into are like the mowing. You have to have a plumber install it in the line. And that's kind of a big.
Yeah.
You know,
500
Tractor.
$500 up front or $1,000 up front, whatever it is.
plus the device.
Right.
And Flume, you just stick it on.
And this is a preview of the CCR report. We have a new design this year. Nice spread of
Ooh.
all of our statistics, and then just an overview of our frequently asked questions and links to the Spanish version. So that will be on the website this
I
week.
want to know what agency this is. This is so much better than what we were used to doing.
It was a Word
I'm-
document that got a little fancy this year.
I'll teach you about InDesign so you can really go to CAD. In fact, those QR codes can be generated in InDesign.
That's my favorite program.
In design.
Yeah.
That's fantastic stuff.
I had one suggestion on the newsletter. Sometimes it's helpful for people that are not that great with hands-on ability, like where's my backflow preventer? Unless, do they need to hire a plumber to come out and show them where that is and how to turn it on or off if there's an emergency? And we have some really qualified operations people.
Yeah.
And I'm just wondering if I think I went on,
Well, YouTube would be a perfect.
right,
uh,
right.
Videos
I went on,
too.
exactly. I went on YouTube and I thought I saw an operations person from Rainbow describe something. I don't recall exactly what it was now, but there could be an opportunity just if we're looking at the calls that are coming in and what are the questions people have. If I have a leak, how do I turn off my backflow preventer? And that may cut down some of the service calls, number one. And it gives our staff a little bit of uh, media exposure in terms of communicating how to do certain things. I'm not trying to create any liability for our staff, but I mean, if there's a few basics that you can maybe just put a link in the newsletter or a QR code that would move them to an informational tutorial or something, it just could be another value add that people would appreciate.
Yeah, just to chime in on that, that was one of the things when we did our demographic research for the strategic communications workshop. YouTube is the #1 social media channel used by all age groups that are residents in the district. And so when we say, we need an intern to help with social media, YouTube is one of the primary opportunities that we have, because then we can do things like put the QR codes in the newsletter and on our website and on door hangers, for more information. But it takes a lot of time to go out and film that. So that's one of the reasons we asked for the intern, was to have that extra pair of hands to go out into the field and help film all of that content, create all that content that we can then, push out and make available to our customers.
Anything else on newsletter? That will do it. Thank you for that report. Great job. And this is some beautiful graphics going on with the CCR report. That'll be something we're very proud of, I'm sure. Community events and outreach planning update.
Last month, we hosted our 3rd field trip with Bonsall High School, where students were invited to tour the district. We had an excellent presentations. Our team changed up their content they presented, so it was more interactive, where they could engage with our field operations and learn how they survey sites, understand wastewater treatment. And there was a flurry of questions during wastewater. Everyone is always fascinated with how that process goes through and how we clean our water. Meters did a wonderful job of explaining how they go throughout the community, not just to, make sure that they're capturing all that information, but also like, what are the different sites within our community? When you see this meter box, when you see a backflow device, how they turn off water. It was very engaging and informative. And majority of the students were chemistry students, so they understood the importance of like proper formulas and calibration. So it was great. We used the grant funds from the Metropolitan Community Services Grant to supply them with hard hats, safety vests, glasses. They went home with a full swag bag full of items, including a STEM kit that was substantially larger than our first one, but their teacher was pleasantly surprised at all of the items that we received. So it was a small group, but they were very well informed.
Great.
Was the group size was smaller than the past, is what I.
Last time we had 15, and this time there were 12 plus 2.
So it's roughly the same.
Yeah.
Okay, wasn't like 20 to 12.
No.
Yeah, Bonsall High School doesn't have 4,000 students either. I mean, it's a pretty small school, so that's a reasonably reasonable sized group from there.
Any feedback from the teachers or anything?
There was strong interest from the chemistry teacher to have some of our operations team members come in class and speak more about what they do to apply chemistry to their job. That was one area where we thought this would be something we're interested in, as well as contacting with their CTE advisor to figure out what other programs they have there that would kind of bridge that gap. There's a cybersecurity program that's launching this fall, so that gives us an opportunity for a med to come in. But yeah, it was wonderful conversation with the teachers to learn more about what they need to help them kind of fulfill their lesson planning.
Has any thought been given to expanding that this particular program to like Fallbrook and or the Oceanside, whatever it is down there at the Costco on 76?
We've
In
stuck
their high
with
school down.
Bonsall because it's in our service area.
It's in our district, but
Like Mission Vista, the high school there
yeah,
by Home Depot, across from
Yeah.
Home Depot. Yeah,
Mhm.
Mission Vista. Yeah.
and the only reason I mentioned them is because we have ratepayers whose kids go to Fallbrook.
Yeah.
They
Sure.
don't go to Bonsall.
Sure.
We have ratepayers whose kids go to that mission district.
Mhm.
And it also expands our reach in terms of potential interns and things like that. To go ahead and reach out to those immediately surrounding communities that have overlapped within our district in terms of ratepayers. It's just a thought. We don't want to take staff time doing STEM programs all the time, but if you could either combine, for example, so that you can get if you take a class size of saying 20 being maximum. And I don't know, I'm just picking a number off the top of my head. If you would like to have a maximum capacity class each time you do it to get the biggest bang for the buck, then trying to reach out to those other.
Fill it up. Yeah.
Still benefits the community.
One other question was, you mentioned interns. I don't know if there's any opportunity to structure some kind of program with the high school for students that are looking for work in the summertime that might be able to get class credit possibly to be involved in working to let's say on a construction site. I know when I was in my last year in high school and all throughout college, I was working I was the grunt laborer, and I was sweeping stuff up, picking stuff up, moving tools from one spot to another. And it gave you a really great appreciation of how things get built. And I don't know if it's even, possible, but there might be an opportunity on some of your construction sites to allow an internship or a summer work program coordinated with the high schools where they could get some credit and learn a little bit about constructing water infrastructure or facilities. So something that may be worth exploring.
It's also the college over here that we can tap into for interns. So,
Fantastic.
Okay, we have as mentioned before, our Ballesteros Elementary fundraiser is going to be on June 15th. A team of Rainbow Ambassadors, it's kind of like our event planning team for Rainbow Water. We'll be promoting this event to all of our team members, and then we'll also have a feature in our newsletter. So right now, the event is really centered around healthy habits for students. It's an underserved community, but they want to encourage people to get out and active. So that's the goal of this event. We're going to be sponsoring the water station with water bottles. And right now, registration is $30 through the end of the month, and then it's going to bump up to $40. So we do have a registration link if you're interested in joining us for that event.
Great.
And our
One quick thought. Sorry about this, but have you considered doing a label on bottles where you're doing rainbow water?
yes, that's actually coming up with our calendar contest. We're going to be using the artwork from students to place on the water bottles, and we'll have our logo on them as well. Then the Thoroughbred Lift Station, we're looking at a September, October ribbon cutting event. We want to make sure the project is complete. So our plans are, in progress. We plan on inviting project partners, our local businesses that have been impacted by our construction, members of the chamber, Rotary Club, and then Congressman Isaac's office, because they were really key in us receiving that grant funding.
Great.
I think we're talking about Oceanside too, because they're kind of our
Yes.
wastewater
delightful.
partners. Yeah. Folks from Oceanside. things like that.
And then quick recap on the Avocado Festival. The event drew out thousands of spectators. It went from being a very small setup, and Jake was there. He came in the very early morning hours when it was dark to set up with us. And once we were set up, we hit the ground running with just a constant flow of people coming through. We had 10 staff members, and Julie Johnson came by in the morning, was very helpful with meeting one-on-one with ratepayers, answering their questions, encouraging them to take the survey. We had over 1,800 promotional items given away. That will give you kind of a roundabout number of how much foot traffic we had in there. And we gave away 300 pieces of print collateral material. We learned a lot from the event. We need to staff more at the event, make sure we went from 2 to 3 people for next year. But we debuted all sorts of new promotional items that were well received. Water bottles were always a big hit with everyone. Our Mr. fans were great. We had a little bit over, let's see, we do have these numbers here. We spent a little bit over our projected budget, but we have a lot of promotional items left in the inventory for next year. That's one area where we don't have to worry about spending as much. And then we did spend some on the new logo promotional items to replace some that had been much out of their useful life. And we also are using our tents and things for our team members in the field. So a lot of this will be reused.
See all the new logo on all your backdrops and everything you did in there. It was just great.
Yeah, looks a lot better. The logo is it's so much better. Out of curiosity, on the promo items, were there hot items and cold items?
Hot ticket items were the little Mr. fans that we had,
No.
the avocado hot cold packs. Water bottles were something people really wanted, but some of them thought we were giving them water inside of the water
Oh.
bottle because it was so
Oh,
warm. It got warm very
empty.
quickly. And then other items that were kind of like hit or miss, the dog bowl was like some people absolutely loved it, but if they spun and they didn't have a dog, do with that. So we let them pick whatever item they wanted. Our little stress balls, poop emoji stress balls, were a big hit with kids from little kids, middle school. They thought it was funny. And then the avocado tool.
Yeah.
A lot of people wanted that. It wasn't too
Yeah.
practical.
That was a hot item last year as well.
My kids like the stickers. I got,
Stickers.
I went to my kid's house or his room yesterday, and he's got, you know, when you open the closet, it's that little circle thing. They got a rainbow sticker in.
Yeah, a lot of the kids liked the stickers and the little tattoos, and that was a first time creating stickers for the kids. So it was a nice small item compared to what we had done prior. We learned a lot from the event. Definitely a lot of notes taken, and next year will be an even better success. And then just an update on our poster contest. We have our entries in, and we'll be voting, asking our team members to vote on these. Our plan is to print them on the water bottles that we're going to have at the Rainbow Run. And then we'll send our top 3 selections to North County water agencies, and they will go ahead and begin the process of putting together the calendar. It takes quite some time for them to put everything in from end of summer until roughly about November. So we want to make sure we're staying ahead of the curve there.
Fantastic. That's great. Thank you much. Let's move on then to public communications and related media stories. I see attached to our
Yes, in the
agenda,
agenda,
yeah.
you have a few
Mhm.
news articles there. Our Bonsall High School feature made it in with its photos. The crop swap program feature made it in, which helped us, gain some traction and traffic to the crop swap website. And then FPLED had an event with Eastern where it recognized community leaders that participated in detachment. And our very own Tom Kennedy is up in the back row there.
There aren't any bolts on that pipe going in.
It's a portable. Huh?
As long as you have a crane.
All right. Yeah, good stories.
Good stuff.
Well, all of them were positive and just,
You know, and awards and recognitions, I keep thinking back to like the CSDA has or I'm pretty sure it's CSDA that we got for the helitank.
Right.
I think our STEM program is a good
Mhm.
candidate for that. You know, we've done it 3 times. We've got, positive feedback. We've got a good story to tell. And that can help us elevate our recognition within the CSDA.
Yeah.
California Special District Association, CSDA. If you're like me, you're going to find that your first 6 or 7 months here is trying to understand all these
The
crazy
acronyms.
abbreviations.
We have a sheet now.
You do?
Yeah, we do.
I
It's
didn't have one of those.
it's in the orientation packet.
isn't it more like a book? I mean.
It's several sheets. Yes. It's
Anyway, it's just a thought that, and I think that'd also be a good promo video on, to have on the website as well.
You know,
Interaction with the community.
Do we have the news articles that you showed in the agenda? Do they get added in onto the website for, Rainbow in the news or something like that?
That is a fantastic idea.
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't we have past?
there is a
I thought we
spot
had
for
past
that.
newsletters on,
We do
Posted
have our
on-
our newsletters.
but I don't think we feature out an article as a highlight, as some pick on the homepage type of thing, which is a good idea.
that is good. I also think that at some point, maybe periodically, but I think about a thank you to Village News.
Mm.
They're reporting, as I viewed it, through most of the detachment process and just dealing with our issues in general has been, I thought, pretty even-handed.
Yeah.
Local newspapers like this are notoriously bad reporters. I mean,
And Joe's done a good
in
job.
many communities I've lived in, it's just been a, kind of a sensational little thing that, wants to stir up trouble. The Village News in our community is interested in the facts, and the reporters I've dealt with have been very competent. And so I think it'd be nice, especially as we're, completing this detachment, to thank them for able reporting of the process and everything that we're doing. Okay, let's move on then. We have a discussion and possible action regarding committee membership. Okay.
Yes. So Mr. Kozak, who's joining us again today, Jim Kozak, met him at the board meeting several weeks ago, but has expressed interest in joining this committee. And we do have staff prepared a action letter for the board if the committee so chooses to recommend that way to take it to the next board meeting for
Right.
potential appointment to the committee. So that's what we're bringing to you today.
So, Jim, give us the thumbnail version of why you're interested in joining our committee.
Well, my wife and I moved to Fallbrook in 2021 and from Encinitas. And we really enjoy our 2.5 acre property. We've got 30 fruit trees and it's just a wonderful lifestyle that we've had. Never thought I'd say that being close to the ocean, but this is a different kind of ocean. And it's just wonderful. And in my professional career, I'm in land development, where we basically all my projects right now are in Riverside County, primarily in the Inland Empire and the Coachella Valley. So I work with a lot of local water districts to secure water to be able to build new home projects, some industrial projects, some commercial. And I realize how important water is to keeping the economy going, providing jobs, providing residences for people. It's, to me, it's the black gold, so to speak, of, of enterprise here. And so I decided it would be great if I could get involved locally, because I like where I live. And when I read the detachment story, because I do a lot of work with board members in water districts, city council people to accomplish, my first thought was, no way in heck can you guys get this done, because of, legally you might, but the politics of all the other agencies. And we saw some of that surface with the meetings and everything else.
And add to it, you've got 2 counties involved in
Yeah.
out of district.
Yeah, like how can I make this more complicated, And the perseverance to be able to see that through, and the vote, getting out the vote is another challenge for people to really understand the basics. It was like, wow, this is inspiring. And I said, if there's anything I can do to help continue this momentum, I'd like to participate, from that standpoint. So I've been on both sides of the fence as a developer, trying to minimize how much improvements I have to give a water district to get water meters, to minimize that extraction, so to speak, but also realize the importance of having a viable water district. If it all went one way and then the water district can't survive, I've just shot myself in the foot. So it's a public-private partnership is what I've learned over the years. And when people work together, amazing things can happen. And I think we all witnessed this detachment as an amazing thing. And so I'd like to help out any way I can. And this sounds like, Jake felt this could be a good committee to work with, especially since you need another person or two, and I'm willing to help from that standpoint.
Thank you. Yeah, I think we're really privileged to have somebody that is experienced in the land development business to serve in this committee. Typically, they've gone into engineering committee and sometimes budget and finance, and this, if there's been a transformation in the district that is total, it has come in this particular area of public relations, customer service, and customer service. And that, I know that was my total focus, because I dealt with large constituencies and communities I managed, and understood that about 90% of the problems you have are as a result of being unable to really communicate effectively with a large number of people, and have them understand your problems and your successes, and have them understand that there's good intentioned people working for good purpose in an agency. That always isn't the case, as you know. But we have had that blessing here since about for the last 8 or 9 years, and that is why we're where we are today. So pleased that you've offered your services. Any others that have questions for you here?
I don't have any questions.
I would then entertain a motion to put Jim's name forward, and subject to the staff approval of the board. Yeah, to the approval of the board, subject to the staff's write-up.
I would like to so move.
Second from me. And with thanks, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So, and that meeting is going to take place
28th.
Next week.
Yeah, next week. It's a week
next
from today.
Tuesday.
It'll be on the agenda.
We don't mess around.
We'll
We
take
get a
any
qualified
light breathing
volunteer.
going.
You had no idea. Thank you,
Yeah.
Jim. Appreciate it, and looking
Yeah.
forward to working with you.
To just reinforce what Bill just said, one of the reasons I joined this committee prior to being elected to the board was the fact that the reputation in Rainbow 6, 7 years ago in terms of perception of the ratepayer toward the board and toward the district was just in the toilet. My first conversation with Tom Kennedy stemmed out of the fact that my division district representative on the board resigned, and I received a notice in the newsletter that said, if you're interested in applying for this to fill out the rest of this term, please submit your CV by March 10th. And I received the notice on March 20th. And it was just indicative of the way the district had been run in terms of communications. And it ticked me off so bad. I made an appointment with to see the general manager. I came in and saw Tom, and at that time he'd been general manager for about 18 months. And we, in the discussion, he mentioned that. And I said, oh, it's about time for you to leave, isn't it? Because the average lifetime of a general manager up until Tom Kennedy, with the exception of one in our whole history, was 18 months. So
50 GMs in 60 years.
and
You're doing great.
Yeah.
No.
By the way, Tom's
Nobody's still
response.
here.
Tom's response to that was, I'd like to stay a little longer if I could. But anyway, that's how I got engaged in the water district, and we've made some significant changes in the last 6 years, 7 years. And I think with the staff we have now, we're ready to move on to the next level. So
I had the same experience, except the issue then was that FPUD was attempting to absorb us. They had made an application to LAFCO to basically merge the two districts and take over Rainbow, and which was not in our best interest.
and on top of that, the acting general manager of Rainbow at the time was the general manager for FPUD, and he was drawing full dual salary. Yeah, that
Yeah.
was preceding, that's where Kennedy came in at that issue in time, managed to help us defeat that thing. Because while there are a lot of similarities between the two districts, our service communities are pretty much different.
Yes.
And it just didn't make sense to try to meld the two together.
There weren't going to be any significant savings, and the customer service implications of that were dire. And Tom made a great, and I responded to a letter he sent out to the ratepayers of our district saying, this just is not going to be in your best interest. And outlining why. And I thought, man, that's articulate. And so I gave him a call, and he said, well, come down to a meeting. Well, there were 15 people interested in filling the unexpired term that I ended up getting appointed to. And I and a lot of that had to do with a recognition that we finally had a really strong leader in Tom. Yep. And so, and I had just moved into the district a couple of years, just 2 or 3 years prior, just like you have, and looking for something to do of significance as I retired, and for the community. This is where I ended up. Well, thank you so much. Well, we only have a couple items left, and list of suggested agenda items for the next meeting are any from staff.
Crop swap update, probably give those latest
Okay.
statistics on the amount of programs being submitted.
Probably a final budget update.
Yeah.
Are you going to actually adopt the budget this week? Next week?
Don't we have,
No, I think
we have to by
it'll be
July
in,
1st.
yeah, it'll be in June.
It'll be in June.
Yeah.
Okay, June board meeting.
We have one more.
Yeah, a lot of work yet to do, I'm sure, but not until June board meeting. And so, but any update on that would be terrific. We will offer our condolences in the next meeting to Bill Shute for having railroaded him into the chairman's spot. But, you know, I think he expected it. And the other normal items on the agenda. And so we'll look forward to a meeting. What is the date for that meeting?
June 18th.
18th.
June 18th. Okay. Yeah, June 18th. So it's relatively late in the month. No, that's about normal.
Yep.
So we're on the 3rd now.
Tuesday.
Third Monday is as opposed to the first
And-
Thursday.
And just an
I
update
know.
too.
I've totally messed up with that. So,
So now all of our committees, E&O,
oh, well.
we made the switch
Tuesday,
there
Tuesday,
too.
Tuesday.
So we're, yeah, their first Tuesday, budget and finance is second and communications is third. So
That's going to be very helpful for making tea times.
well,
I won't make them on top of both committee meetings.
for those retired, I imagine so. Yes.
All right. Well, thank you. If there is nothing else, then we are going to stand adjourned.
Right.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Great meeting.
Jim, thank you for coming.
Kevin,
Appreciate
yeah,
that again. Yeah.
Looking forward to working with you.